Hey folks, Grant from Gunspot. In today's video, we're going to be testing the high terminal performance round from Remington Ammo. Thank you, Remington, for sending it. We're going to test its accuracy, and then we're going to shoot it through some ballistic gelatin, through some different intermediate barriers to see its performance. Okay, so we're going to start this test with just a really basic 5-shot accuracy test at 7 yards, which really isn't a high standard, but just to show that it does group well, we're going to do that. Then we're going to go right to ballistic gelatin. And in that ballistic gelatin, we're going to shoot through some intermediate barriers, some denim, some lumber, and see what kind of performance we get out of this high terminal performance jacketed hollow point round. Okay, for our test today, I'm going to be using the new HELLCAT Pro. We're here at 7 yards. I'm going to be shooting the top left target on this paper. Okay, 5 shots down. It shoots very well. A few little oopses on my part, partly because of the cold and numbness of fingers, but it's going to group well enough to meet your needs out of short barrel, long barrel. I have no doubt it's going to perform in the longer barrels as well. So let's head over and shoot our ballistic gelatin block. All right, so here we are at 10 feet. We're going to shoot just into the gel block alone. We're not going to shoot through any intermediate barriers as of yet. Looks like we got about 12 inches, roughly, give or take, of penetration. Obviously, our block is getting colder by the second, which is going to make it a little bit more resistant to our bullet making through. We've got some good temporary cavitation. We've got good expansion in the bullet, and I know that's probably going to be hard for you to see with the block clouding up with frost on it. It's about 10 degrees outside here, but looks like the bullet did as we would have hoped as far as good expansion and penetration. It's a better view on this side, not quite as fogged up, and it's more to that side. Okay, so we did our first test, which was just shooting into the gel block. Now we're going to place denim over top. This is trying to replicate the FBI's test. Of course, our block is a homemade block. We are definitely colder than what the FBI test calls for as far as chilling the block. So we're just getting as close as we possibly can. So we're going to shoot through an intermediate barrier and see if that changes expansion, penetration, and consistency in those particular areas. Okay, right at the bottom of the block, I hope I didn't veer off into the table, which it did just slightly, but we've got about the same amount of penetration, a little bit less because we're not fighting as much resistance in the block. But as you can tell, penetration's almost identical. The denim, at least, did not stop the bullet's expansion, which I think is super important. That is a great sign, and we can see nice expansion, very little, if any, loss of mass. I bet you we're probably in that upper 90% range of retention. Got a little bit of jean material, which is generally what causes a lot of infection in wounds from intermediate barriers carrying debris into the wound channel. It's pretty ironic that it made it all the way. It was obviously attached to the bullet itself. Usually you get that in that shorter distance, but that was a pretty good chunk there. So now we're going to shoot through lumber. Going through our dimensional lumber, no problems with getting it through there. I knew that wouldn't be a problem. We can see a lot of wood debris. And ironically enough, or maybe not, if you're new to ballistic gelatin tests, when you shoot through an intermediate barrier, especially something like dimensional lumber, you generally, it fills the hollow point and kind of transforms that bullet's performance more into what you would maybe associate with Full Metal Jacket. And the bullet completely went through the block. Of course, the block is somewhat compromised, having 2 shots already fired into it, but we have a really strong amount of expansion here, or terminal performance signs, but it didn't capture the bullet. It went through and through, so more than 16 inches, which is our block, 16 inches of penetration, not including the dimensional lumber. All right, so we've just fired 3 shots into bare gelatin, through denim into gelatin, and through dimensional lumber, all intermediate barriers that you might find yourself having to shoot through to get to a threat. And you know, while I believe this bullet does exactly like they planned it to do, you're getting good expansion under most circumstances. It, like a lot of things, comes down to shot placement. This round, however, at least in 2 where we were able to retain the bullet, showed great expansion, just like what you would hope to get, and that caused good temporary cavity while in the gelatin, good penetration in each of the circumstances fired, and so, you know, you've got to get out there and train with it. And this brings me to another point, and that is, your carry gun, you need to run some of your defensive ammo through it just to make sure it's going to run and run correctly. A lot of guns don't. A lot of guns are fickle when it comes to Full Metal Jacket or hollow points, you know, and not wanting to load those. So you need to test that. You need to put it into place, shoot it through your gun so you know it'll operate correctly. But my opinion is this stuff will get the job done, again, as long as you put it in the spot that it needs to go. All right, folks, thanks for watching. Thanks again to Remington for sending us this ammo to test. Remember, train hard, your family deserves it.